Hey, this is Chris from Godwin Finance, and in this screen share, I'm going to run through the process for making an offer on a property in New South Wales. If you are looking to buy a property and you're not sure what the process is, this is an overview of what you can expect, keeping in mind that this process can change depending on the market, which I will mention as we go through it. And it's more a process in Sydney and major parts of New South Wales. Some country regions don't follow this process. I guess there's no real law about how it has to go, but this is generally the way it goes. So first step I've got here is step one, find a property. Obviously, that's find a property that you're interested in, that you want to buy. However, really, the step one should be get pre-approval. But I haven't put that in here because that's not, necessary for making an offer on a property. However, it's highly recommended that you get pre-approval before you even start looking for properties to make sure that you are looking within your budget. You don't want to go and put an offer on a property, pay a holding deposit, and then find that you can't afford the property because that holding deposit is generally non-refundable. So you'll lose that money. So step one really is get pre-approval. Once you got pre-approval, or if you're in the process of getting pre-approval, like if we've looked at your application and we're really confident, and you ask us and say, could we potentially make an offer before our application is pre-approved, then we might say, yeah, that should be fine. Just keeping in mind that you will be risking your holding deposit if the lender decides not to approve your loan for some reason. So once you found a property, first thing you'll need to do is contact the real estate agent and ask questions. And this step, it's really important to understand the real estate agent is not your friend. The real estate agent works for the person selling the property, and the real estate agent's job is to get as much money from you as possible. So you want to ask questions, you want to take their answers with a grain of salt. You also want to do your own research and verify some of the answers that they're giving you. So if they tell you the house is worth $1 million, and then you look on recently sold properties on the internet, or you get a property report from us and you see that the property is probably only worth 900, then maybe you'll take their $1 million estimate with a grain of salt. So that's all I'm saying is you want to ask questions, but you want to also do your own research to verify the answers that you're getting from the real estate agent. And once you've done that, you might decide that you want to make an offer, and the offer is totally your choice. The real estate agent might say, "Oh, the house is worth $1 million." You do your research, you see it's worth 900 maybe, but because maybe it's a very hot market, you think they might get 950 for it. So you might say, "All right, I'll offer 950." Okay, so that it's really up to you. You can make an offer. The real estate agent will take the offer to the person selling the property and see what they say. They may accept or come back with a counter offer, or the real estate agent might already have spoken to the person selling the property and they've told them we won't accept any offer under $1 million. In which case, they may come back to you and say, well, we can't accept any offers under $1 million. And then at that point, it's your decision what you want to do. You might walk away for a day at least and let them stew on it, or you might offer $1 million. So this is a negotiation. So you'll make an offer, but the first offer you make may not be the one that gets accepted. You may go back and forth a couple of times. But once the offer is accepted, then you're going to get to the next step here, which is to pay a holding deposit. And at this point, you are essentially committing to the purchase, and it'd be good if you have pre-approval at this stage, but you don't have to have pre-approval, okay? Because this is like a semi-commitment to the purchase. So you're paying a 0.25% deposit on the property. So I'll put an example here. If the property is $1 million, 0.25% is $2,500. It's just a fraction of the actual property price. And this comes off your overall deposit. So if you're paying a 10% deposit, then this will come off your 10% deposit. So you don't have to pay this plus your 10% deposit. This is part of your deposit. However, if you pay a holding deposit and then you back out later, it's very likely you won't get that holding deposit back. Okay, unless there's some special agreement in place, you won't be getting that money back. So that's what you need to keep in mind when you're paying a holding deposit. and you are essentially semi-committing to the purchase. Now, once you've done that, you go into a cooling off period, and the cooling off period is usually 5 days. Well, it's 5 days to start with, and then if we need more time, we can ask for an extension, and the people selling the property can decide whether to accept the extension or not. But if we can get it done in 5 days, we can get it done in 5 days. Lately it's been taking longer because the banks are very slow, but that's what we're working with. So you paid your holding deposit on the property you want to buy. You're now in a 5-day cooling off period. The next step is you would obviously let us know, and we would get a copy of the contract for the sale of the property. There'll be a big contract, and then we will organise a valuation on your behalf. Now, the bank pays for the valuation in most cases. We organise it directly with the lender, and we will send the valuer. Basically, what happens is we order a valuation through the lender's valuers, and then we'll send them a copy of the contract of sale that you've got from the real estate agent, and then the valuer will look at the contract of sale. They'll look at the property, and if they need to, they'll go and inspect it. And when they're done, they'll write up a report, and that report will be sent to the lender, and the lender will review it, along with the rest of your home loan application. So that's the stage where the lender is reviewing the property to make sure they're happy to accept it. All right. And what they're looking for is, generally, it's not about a building inspection. Like, they're not necessarily looking for termite damage or anything unless they see it. It's just like a walkthrough at most. And what they're really looking for is to see what similar places have sold for in the last 6 months. And they just want to make sure that the value stacks up and it makes sense. And, they're happy with the property. Some lenders have an issue with, for example, an apartment that's in a block with, 50 apartments, right? Some lenders have an issue with that. So that's something we need to figure out way before we get to this stage. But, that's, just the lender making sure they're happy with your property. So once they've ticked off and said, yep, we're happy with that, the lender will just do one final check of your application and make sure they're happy with everything, and then they'll issue formal approval. So once you get to this formal approval stage, that's when you are much safer to commit to the purchase. And when you get to this stage is actually when you would generally fully commit to the purchase. So you would obviously would let your conveyancer know. Your conveyancer is the person helping you with the legal side of the purchase. And then your conveyancer will look at the approval, and then they'll speak to you and say, yes, I'm happy with you to proceed. And you don't proceed until they say that. So both your conveyancer and us as the broker will say, we work for you and we believe that this is okay and to proceed. There's always an element of risk, but the risk is very much mitigated when we get to this stage. And once you've got the green light, that's when you can fully commit to the purchase. So here you've semi-committed. Once you've got to this stage, now you can fully commit. So if you're paying a 5% deposit, you'd pay the remainder of the 5%, okay? Or whatever the situation is for you. You might have a guarantor and we have to organize something else. We will take care of that for you. But essentially all you need to know is at this step 6, the formal approval stage, is when you fully commit to the purchase, which means you can't back out. If you do back out, then you stand to lose your whole deposit. So we need to be very sure before you get to this step. And the next step will be usually a few weeks later, and that's settlement. So between formal approval and settlement, the bank will send out a loan contract. We will review the loan contract, make sure everything looks good, prepare it for you. You will review it, sign where you need to sign, and then we'll get that back to the lender, and then they'll certify that everything's been done correctly and say to us, we're ready for settlement. So that's what happens between formal approval and settlement, the loan contract. You'll also hear from your conveyancer doing all the final bits and pieces. And then when we get to the settlement date, that's when your property is put into your name with obviously a mortgage from the lender, and you should be able to go and pick up the keys and move in. So that's the process from finding a property to moving in. And if you have any questions, then just, as always, give me a call My name is Chris from Godwin Finance, 0290339106. That's 0290339106. Email me at support@godwinfinance.com.au, or you can SMS 0488 856 652, 0488 856 652, and you can also find a lot more of these, instruction screen shares on our website, godwinfinance.com.au. In the free tools section, you'll see there's a home financing library, and you can go in there and look at the other stuff. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day.